Bjorn has been more from the out going in, I've been more from the inside seeing things. And what really triggered me also to learn from them is the fact that they need facilitation that entire process. So that is part of the coaching. But it is first of all let them recognize what they can do and help them in that process. Because most Filipinos I come across, whether it's in a team or just individuals, they don't really realize what their capacities are. So they first of all need to be coached on that process. And once they understand it and once they start grabbing on certain of these skills that they want to explore and improve, working with Filipinos is actually a wonderful thing to experience something. And I've worked all over Europe, in the US, in South America. It's very much like in South America. But if you, for example, in the northeast of the US, New Jersey, New York and up, people are so ignorant and think, like Björn says, we know it all. So
it's a
you can't teach these people anymore because they don't have that motivation. And that's what you see with the Filipinos, which is actually a Spanish Mediterranean influence. Well, I can't call it influence, it's probably it's still a gene which you have from centuries ago. Sometimes I wish I see more of those Mediterranean characteristics, but this is for sure one of them. Filipinos are very acceptable to being motivated, and they need to be. And many CEOs and company owners, they struggle with the fact that people only want more money. That is in a certain perspective that is true, because the primary needs are for a majority of people to be filled in. But if you motivate people by what they can do with their own skills and thoughts and what they have taught in school, you have another way of approaching, and it's not just about money. And once you get people, and that is also what I do, is when I do coaching for teams, it's actually looking at identifying what I call intrapreneurship within companies. So the same thing what happens for entrepreneurs, we have to create it within companies. Because people are just going from 9 to 5 to their work, or even work 15, 16 hours, but they are not creating. So they have to be brought to the idea of you can contribute to the value of your company. And when you have that in place, and then you identify different skills, then you find a way how they can collaborate with each other. That's where you call under entrepreneurship collaboration. You create a similar environment in companies. You make a company better, it will turn back also to the employees. It takes time, but that's you can get out of it.
But in the Philippines, what industries mostly avail of trainings? Are these industries in telecommunication, real estate, IT, BPO?
It is certainly in the call center BPO area, but I've seen good things going on in the high-tech sector in Laguna. I don't know which other one, the banking sector does a lot as well. What are your best experiences?
Well, for us, we work mostly with the CEO level and the executive team, so we don't really go into very much into the lower levels, management or supervisors. So it's hard for me to see what that looks like because we have that top level perspective. I think it depends on how big the company is. Many times it's the little companies probably would need the training the most, but do it the least. And then the training increases as the company grows. And the big companies, the really big local companies, they invest a lot. But it probably should be more even. It shouldn't be so focused at the biggest companies. All the companies should be more involved in developing their people. And when I say development, I don't just think about skills, but also bring up the confidence of the people, bring up their leadership. It's one thing to lead followers, but it's a whole different game to lead leaders. Now imagine if you had a team of followers or a team of leaders, which one's going to be more effective? And today, we always have to do more with less. Right? So the logical default would be, it would be great to have a team of leaders. Yeah, but it takes a very different leader to lead leaders than it takes to lead followers. And that's where really it separates the good from the great.
So, sir, do companies really need a huge budget to avail of these trainings or these coaching? Like, what does a company need to avail these coachings that you offer?
Do you have packages for small, medium enterprises and multinational companies?
Yeah, so for us personally, we do individual coaching, we do executive team coaching, and sometimes we'll do turnaround coaching over many months. Yeah. The individual coaching is at the CEO level, and the higher you go in the organization, the price goes up. Right? So the higher you go, the more expensive it becomes because you need a more experienced coach. You need somebody that can match the confidence of the CEO, right? Because otherwise, are they going to listen? Right? Imagine if you have a junior supervisor walking in and say, "I'm going to coach the CEO." What do you think the CEO is going to do? He's like, right? He's just going to yawn, right? Or she's just going to yawn. So you need someone who's truly experienced and keep up intellectually, maybe even be a few notches above that CEO. Now, when it comes to coaching executive teams, yeah, it's more expensive because it's the same thing, the same rules apply. Right? When you go into 9-month coaching engagements, we look into the investment being around 10% of what the company will get out. So we've had coaching engagements that we've earned the company $1 million. We've had coaching engagements that earned the company $11 million. Right? In Samsung's case, it was billions of dollars. I wish I'd gotten a percentage of that. Right? So it can vary greatly.
I have a question about blended learning, more actually for e-learning.
Sure.
How do you figure, like for example with Skillsoft, you do a lot of training online. How does coaching fare into that? Since we're talking about coaching, I'd like to know how we can integrate IT and coaching and actual e-learning. Will that be possible?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done to blend pretty much e-learning with coaching. You know, e-learning tends to have a bad reputation because of poor instructional design. People think e-learning is just flipping pages on a PowerPoint. But what's really important to recognize about e-learning is that has the power to essentially help L&D maximize their budget, because a properly designed program can help reduce the training costs, and it can add basically reduce the training time as well, because there's a 2-to-1 progression when over e-learning. But it's something that is not going to replace the human coach, completely replace the human instructor either. So it's something that can be used to supplement a lot of coaching. For example, one of the programs we launched recently at the Skillsoft is called the Welch Way. It's a leadership program designed to track Welch. And this is, it can be done purely in a pure e-learning model. So some executives, they don't have much time. It's actually designed for more middle-level managers as well. But so for them, they can access this online in the spare minutes they have during the day. But it can also be used as a blended approach. So many in the U.S., many coaching professionals, trainers, taking the Welch Way, they have the online component, the e-learning component that the participants will watch or will take the e-learning course at home, and then they'll have sessions. They'll have facilitation sessions where they can work with the participants and kind of touch points under certain points from the e-learning course and help them build upon that. So it's something that can be a very valuable component. It can help save time as well. It can also help reduce the cost for companies, especially when they need to, training budgets are being shrunk and learning and development personnel there may not be so many available to train a large amount of people. So it's something that can help supplement coaching programs.
And in your experience, what would be a good mix in terms of how much should be spent online and how much time should be spent one-on-one?
I guess it really depends upon, the ultimately will depend upon the objectives. I think what is the ultimate goal of the program? What is the ultimate business impact you're looking for? And then kind of working backward from that, then you can decide what fraction should be done online, what fraction should be done face to face. So, for example, if the business objective is to increase sales, there's a certain amount of things that can be done online. Some like basic sales training, cold calling, sales processes type training. But then of course you still will also need it's good to have some expert sales coaching expert come in and do some workshops with the coaching individuals. So ultimately the mix would depend upon the business objectives of the budget, I would say. But there would basically, you can work with both approaches, e-learning and a live coach, and decide upon the right mixture depending upon what resources you have available.
In addition, I think it's important to know that in the world there's still a confusion out there between mentoring and coaching, or managing and coaching, or advice giving and coaching. Coaching is not mentoring. In the technical sense, in the strictest technical, coaching is not mentoring. Coaching is not advice giving. Technically, yeah. So. You may have in-house mentors and you may have in-house coaches, or you may have external mentors and external coaches, or a combination thereof, or both. Where the limitations are of e-learning is it's very hard to specialize and personalize. But this is something that's still coming, and maybe in the future of e-learning, to make it more personal and make it more customized to the person, not just to the group. And so that's a huge possibility that's still sort of in the cooking, right, in the kitchen. And maybe it'll come eventually, but right now it has to be supplemented with very personal attention. People have different needs, they have different skill levels, they have different things that hold them back. Maybe it's their own belief system. So I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too light, I'm too dark, whatever. Things can hold people back. And sometimes that's more important than the actual skills we find. So many times we work with people, and the reality is they probably already know what they need to do, but they're not doing what they know. And that's where the benefit of coaching comes in. We help them overcome those hurdles. We help them overcome those barriers. We help them overcome those stops. And that's when the person truly grows. It's not just in the skills. Sometimes we're too focused on skills alone and forgetting that that person is not a machine that can be programmed. It's a thinking, feeling human being, and that's what we have to remember.
You mentioned earlier about coaching to executives, to CEO levels, like that.
Yes.
But
That's just
that,
for us.
yes, but that's coming from the private sector. Is there any demand from the public sector? I mean, the government training.
Not much right now, but we wish there was more. I'll be happy to make myself available to leading people in public life.
But have you ever coached anyone in the government?
Yes, but more on a private engagement.
Not really as a public office function.
They were holding office,
Yeah.
but we didn't have an engagement with them individually as part of their job function, but we engaged with some of the teams. And I think that's also a very helpful approach that we have come to learn, is that coaching shouldn't just be the individual or just the team, but it really should be both. There's things that you coach on as a team, and there's things you coach on as an individual. Because we are all different. We're not all the same. Even if we come from the same city or the same country, we're not cut from the same piece of wood. And I think it's important to acknowledge that